Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And want to welcome you once again to tonight's episode. Just for giving you for all the technical hiccups. Just one moment. I believe you can hear me, and if you can, just give me a thumbs up. Streaming live. So let's get into the topic for the topic for the day, and it's one of the topics that every now and then we overlook, and I want us to get into this, something that we often overlook, and it's all about what you say tells a lot about you. What you say tells a lot about you, and we want to get into it. You know, what you say tells a lot about you, and I believe that that is so right. That is so right. Your words, your tone, and even your silence speaks volumes. Speaks volumes about who you are. And whether you realize it or not, ladies and gentlemen, you are communicating something every time you open your mouth or you choose not to open your mouth. You are communicating something. And if you just tuned in, I want to welcome you once again to episode 102 of my Step Out, Step In podcast live on YouTube and Facebook. And I want you to do me a favor if you can share this link at least with one person. Just share the link with at least one person and let that one person tell another person that we are live. We are connected live tonight. Yeah, of course, we might be experiencing some technical glitches, but let's not get into it. But we're going to go forward no matter what. Resilience is what we are holding on to. And again, I said earlier, whether you realize it or not, everything you say, what you communicate, that comes out of your mouth, and has something to do. And whether you like it or not, even when you don't open your mouth, when you choose not to open your mouth, it also does something. It speaks volumes. So today we're going to unpack this topic of how to communicate effectively and how your words are shaping the way people see you and the way you live your life. And just before we dive into it, let's do this. Let me see if I can share this scripture with you. And so when we look at Proverbs 18 and verse 21, it talks about death and life are in the power of the tongue. You know, the tongue is one of the smallest organs in a human body, but it is yet so powerful. And it says that in those who love it will eat its fruits. So he says death and life are in the power of the tongue. So what do you speak? What you confess is in your mouth. It lies right there in your mouth. Okay, so we want to dive into it. We want to dive into what we have for today, and bear with me, bear with me, and as we get deeper into this, you know, we want to see how your words carry the weight, how they create that atmosphere, ladies and gentlemen. Your words has the ability to build or break relationships. And yes, what you say tells a lot. What you say tells a lot about you. So we're going to explore 5 ways or 5 points as to how we can effectively communicate and why it matters so much to communicate effectively. So let's get into it. All right, so I want us to just dive straight into it. Um, so let's look at 5 points. 5 points as to how to effectively communicate and why it matters so much. Number one is know the power of your words. Know the power of your words. Know the power of your words. Ladies and gentlemen, your words carry power. Your words have the power to heal or to hurt. Your words have the power to make or to break. You know, they have the power to uplift or to tear down. And what you say becomes a reflection of your values. What you say becomes a reflection of your thoughts. What you say becomes a reflection of your emotional state. You know, this thing just jumped ahead of me. All right, let's continue. We don't want to get distracted. So I say what you say becomes a reflection of your values, your thoughts, and your emotional state. In Matthew chapter 12, as a person of faith, I want to back it up with scripture. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 34. It says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if your heart is full of kindness, if your heart is full of wisdom and love, it's going to show in your speech. It's going to show in what comes out of your mouth. It's going to show in your vocal cords. Effective communication begins with heart awareness. So every now and then you got to ask yourself, what's going on inside me that's influencing how I speak, what comes out of my mouth? Remember, your words don't just fall out of the skies. They come from somewhere. That is why the scriptures tells us that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when you recognize your speech mirrors your inner world, it becomes easier to speak with purpose and power. Don't become like this person who always says that, oh, I speak my mind all the time. I don't care about what anybody says. No. It is from what is within you, out of the abundance of the heart. So, what is within your heart is what really, or most of the time, comes out of your mouth. So, know the power of your words. Know that your words carry weight, it carries power. And don't just throw words anyhow and ask to when you choose and when you want to. Remember that your words carry so much power. See, death and life lies in the power of the tongue. I don't want you, I don't believe that you want to eat the, you want to eat the fruits of death. Because what you speak is what is established. What you speak is what is established. So, number two is think before you speak. Think before you speak. James tells us very well, and he says it in James chapter 1 and verse 19 that let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Let everybody be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. You know, this scripture is so is so powerful. Now, when we look at our world, it's now we are we're in the challenging situation where our world is so fast paced, and we are in a reactive world. We are in a reactive world. And because we are in a reactive world, you know, it is becoming so challenging these days. But it says that every person must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Ouch. And, you know, if you and I can heed to this wise advice, I believe that the world will be a better place for every one of us. Taking a pause before speaking gives you that time to process your emotions and to choose your words wisely. I said earlier on, don't say that, oh, as for me, I speak my mind. Anything that comes out of me is what I say. Guess what? What you say tells a lot about you. So, in order to just spew out words, just pause. Think about what you're going to say. Think before you speak. You know, taking that pause before speaking, I said earlier, gives you that time to process your emotions. And it helps to avoid misunderstanding and prevent unnecessary damage. You know, we all have selective hearing. We all have that selective hearing. We choose to hear what we want to hear instead of listening to the entirety of what is being said. We pick and choose. I don't know, but sometimes we also try to get our answers to whatever that person is, whoever you're communicating with, is saying. We don't listen through. But if we're able to listen through it, if we're able to choose our words wisely, it helps avoid misunderstanding and it prevents unnecessary damage. You know, one thing I know is in effective communication, it is not just about what you say or how you say it. It is not about what you say or how you say it. It is about saying the right thing. It's about saying the right thing at the right time in the right way. It is about saying the right thing at the right time in the right way. You don't have to. You don't have to respond to everything immediately. Sometimes holding on your breath, holding on to, holding on to your answers helps a lot. You know, my spiritual father always tells us that nobody can misquote your silence. Nobody can misquote your silence. So sometimes your silence is strength. Sometimes a pause shows maturity. Sometimes not speaking is the best form of communication. I know some people hate this part. When they are going off and when they are rattling and you are so quiet. But sometimes it helps. You know, one thing about me is I know how powerful words are. And once it comes out of your mouth, you can go back and retract it. It is gone. And I wouldn't like to say anything which will make me regret later. Because once I spew it out, I can really fix the damage sometimes as it creates. So instead of that, I'll remain silent, not say anything, which would save me from a lot of trouble. Right, so think before you speak. Think before you speak. And number three is speak with clarity and honesty. One of the most respectful things you can do for someone is to communicate clearly. The most respectful thing you can do for someone is to communicate with clarity. Clarity prevents confusion and it builds trust and honesty. It prevents confusion if you speak clearly, not speaking in parables or using. All right. So in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 25 tells us that therefore each one of you must put off falsehood or speak truthfully of your neighbor. Therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully of your neighbor. If you don't have the full story, that is me. I will be quiet. I wouldn't say anything. Instead of saying something, you know, anytime somebody says something or reports something, and something is taken out or added to it, it changes the whole context of the message. But Ephesians 4 and 25 is encouraging us that we have to speak truthfully of your neighbor. Now, your neighbor is not the person that lives next to your house. Your neighbor is the people you come across. The neighbor is the people at work, your colleagues at work, you know. But let's get into the place of speaking truthfully instead of falsehood. Even when somebody says something falsehood, you and I can defend that person. Being honest doesn't mean being harsh. If you're honest, it doesn't mean you have to be harsh. You can tell the truth with grace. You can tell the truth with grace. You can be clear without being cruel, not being nasty, not being arrogant, rude. Effective communicators don't leave people guessing. They say what they mean and they mean what they say. And they do all this with kindness and with humility. So let me give you a clue here. Next time when you're tempted to sugarcoat, dodge, or deflect, just pause and choose clarity. Not only clarity, but choose truth and choose courage. Number four, I know it's stuck on two, but we're still going. Number four is listen more than you speak. Listen more than you speak. I know this is something that is hard for a lot of people to do, but it is something that you can always practice. And here's something, sometimes or most of the time we don't talk about enough. Listening is a form of communication. Effective communication, listening is a form of it. In fact, it might be the most powerful one in effective communication. Proverbs 18 and verse 13 says that if one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. Ouch. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is a folly and a shame. How many times have you jumped in only to realize you didn't really understand? I see this more often in Family Feud, the TV show, where the question is being asked. The moment the first statement is made, ladies and gentlemen, listening shows love. It shows respect. It shows that you care. Not only do you care, but you care more about understanding than about being heard. Sometimes people want to be heard, but being understood is much more important. When you listen well, your responses are richer, wiser, and more thoughtful. And I believe that people uh, feel seen and valued when you practice that. So let's do this week. Most of the things we're doing, we want to put it into practice. You want to be a better person, journey through 2025. You want to be what comes out of your mouth can tell people who you are, that you're the genuine person, the loving person, the caring person. So let's practice active listening this week. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Just lean in, absorb, and engage. I know as we as we age, as we grow, sometimes we tend to forget. So when somebody is speaking, when somebody is talking, we want to jump in and share our opinion on based on what you're sharing. But when we wait till they are done, when we listen attentively, when we listen actively, it shows the kind of person you are. Number five is use your words to build, not break. Use your words to build, not break. Ephesians 4:29. No, this was one of the scriptures I made my kids learn at a very early age when they were told her anytime anybody said something that was negative about themselves, about somebody else, I'll have them quote the scripture. So I made them learn it, which says that do not let any unwholesome talk, other version says that um, corrupt communication, come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. It may benefit those who listen. And do you know that most of the time you hear yourself more than anyone hears you? So don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. So let's be real, ladies and gentlemen. We've all said things that makes us regret at some point. You know, yeah, I mean we're being real. We've all said careless we've uh, some careless words. We've all said some unwholesome words. But the good news is you can become a builder with your words starting right now. I mean right now. You can speak life. You can speak hope. You can speak truth in love. You can encourage. You can admonish, encourage someone. You can compliment someone. We are in a generation or in a world where people are not being complimented more often anymore. But you get all the bashes when you do something wrong. Every now and then, let's compliment. Oh, you look nice. I mean, in a very thoughtful way. Compliment. Oh, you're doing good on this. Oh, you're amazing. I mean, yeah. And if we have to correct, let's correct with gentleness. Your words can become a healing balm in someone's life. Your words can become a healing balm. People may not always, there's this quote, it says that people may not always remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. They'll always remember how you made them feel. They'll always remember how you made them feel. So ask yourself daily, are my words lifting people or my words are loading them?